The throne room was quiet. I'd been sitting here for the better part of an hour, waiting for the inevitable. The massive doors stood closed at the far end of the hall, torches flickering along the stone walls, casting shadows that danced across empty space. No guards, no advisors, no demons at all, actually. Just me and the throne I'd occupied for longer than I cared to remember. Humans and demons had been locked in eternal battle for as long as anyone could remember. I was so tired of it. The doors slammed open with a boom that echoed through the hall. A boy stormed in wearing armor that was too big for his frame and carrying a sword that looked like it had been forged yesterday. He couldn't have been older than 16. His face was set in an expression of determined fury that would have been intimidating if I hadn't seen it a few times before.
"Demon King!"
he shouted, his voice cracking slightly on the second word.
"Your reign of terror ends today."
I studied him for a moment. Younger than the last one, born with the hero class, blessed with strength and abilities far beyond normal humans. That kind of power from birth made them self-assured to the point of recklessness. The poor kid had no idea what he'd gotten himself into. "You're younger than the last hero," I said quietly. That threw him off balance. His confident stance wavered slightly.
"I'm the chosen hero, blessed by the gods themselves. I will defeat you and bring peace to this world."
"How many companions did you bring?"
4. But I'm not letting them get hurt when I can handle this myself.
He raised his sword with both hands.
"Prepare yourself, demon."
I summoned my blade, red demonic energy coalescing in my hand until it formed a solid edge. The familiar weight settled into my grip. He charged. I deflected his opening strike with minimal effort, redirecting his blade to the side. He stumbled, recovered, came at me again. His technique wasn't terrible, but it lacked refinement. All power, no control. "Keep your guard up," I said, blocking another swing. "You're leaving your left side completely open." He blinked at me, confused, then attacked again. I sidestepped easily and tapped his shoulder blade with 2 fingers as he passed. "See? That would have been a killing blow if I'd used a weapon."
"Why are you helping me?"
He spun around, breathing hard already. "Because you're going to die if you keep fighting like that." I crossed my arms. "Try again. And this time, keep your balance when you lunge." We went through several more exchanges, each time with me pointing out his mistakes and showing him how to correct them. His confusion gradually shifted to frustration.
"Where are the demons?"
he demanded, lowering his sword slightly.
"My companions and I fought our way to this castle, but we haven't seen a single demon anywhere."
"That's because they're all gone," I said. "I sent them away."
"What do you mean?"
"To another world. A planet with no humans, no intelligent life to conflict with. They can live in peace there." I gestured around the empty hall. "I'm the only demon left. I had to stay behind to close the gate on this side. The spell wouldn't let me go with them." I met his eyes. "So now I just need you to finish your job, save the world, and let me rest." He stared at me like I'd started speaking a different language.
You saved your people by sending them away?"
It was the only way to break the deadlock. Humans and demons have been killing each other for centuries, and nothing ever changes. So I changed it. I met his eyes. "Now raise your sword. We still have a role to play." Understanding flickered across his young face, followed by something that looked almost like regret. But he lifted his blade anyway, because that's what heroes did. We fought for real this time. I could have ended it quickly, but instead I let him learn, let him adjust, let him grow more confident as the duel progressed. He was actually improving as we went, adapting to my patterns. It reminded me of something I'd never have. I wondered, briefly, what it would have been like to have a son this age, to train him properly, to watch him grow, to be proud of his progress. The thought made me feel old. I created an opening. Subtle but deliberate. Left my stance slightly unbalanced, dropped my guard just enough. His eyes widened as he saw his chance. This was the moment he'd been training for, the destiny he'd been promised. He committed fully to the strike, putting everything he had into the blow. Time stopped. The hero froze mid-swing, his blade inches from my chest. The torches stopped flickering, Dust particles hung motionless in the air. Everything went perfectly, impossibly still.
That was well done.
A woman's voice said from behind me. I turned slowly, unsurprised by the divine intervention. A goddess stood there, radiant and eternal, studying me with eyes that had witnessed millennia.
You've been a good ruler,
She continued.
protected your people, solved the deadlock between humans and demons, even mentored the heroes sent to kill you. That takes wisdom most beings never achieve.
Is there anything I can help you with? I asked. Or are you just here to watch me die? She smiled.
I have a problem in another world. The demons there were wiped out years ago. Without a demon king to oppose him, the hero who defeated them decided to create a perfect world.
Let me guess. It didn't work out the way he planned.
He became increasingly authoritarian when people refused to conform to his vision of perfection. Now, he's a tyrant ruling through fear and force, convinced he's creating a utopia.
She tilted her head.
I need someone to stop him, someone with experience being the villain who understands that forced perfection isn't real peace.
I looked at the frozen hero, at the blade poised to end my life, at the empty throne room behind me. I'd been ready to die anyway. At least this way my death would mean something. What's the catch?
You'll need a new body. Demons are extinct in that world, so you can't arrive as one. I can offer you several options. Human, elf, dwarf, rabbitkin, or...
Rabbitkin sounds interesting, I said. I hadn't had any issues with that race.
a peaceful people. Small, quick, non-threatening. They live in the northern regions, far from the tyrant's immediate reach. They value community and cleverness over raw power.
An elf or dwarf would draw less attention, but still carry expectations of strength and aggression. But a rabbitkin? Nobody would see a threat there. It would make his mission much easier. Plus, they looked like they knew how to relax. After years of war, that sounded appealing. Rabbitkin, I decided. Non-threatening is exactly what I need. The goddess smiled and reached out, touching my forehead with one finger. The world dissolved into light. When I opened my eyes, I was lying in soft grass in an unfamiliar place. My body felt different, lighter, faster. I sat up and looked down at myself. My hands looked mostly the same, though slightly more delicate than they'd been. I reached up and felt large rabbit ears protruding from my head, incredibly sensitive to every sound around me. My horns were gone. A quick check confirmed I had a rabbit tail as well. The Demon King class was still there, settled deep in my core. My magical abilities remained intact, but the physical toughness and resistances I'd relied on as a demon were gone, replaced with speed and agility that felt foreign and strange. I stood up, testing the new body's balance. Everything felt wrong at first, but my mind adapted quickly, adjusting to the different center of gravity and muscle structure. A mission and a fresh start. I could work with this. Now I just needed to figure out where exactly the goddess had dropped me and how to get started on hunting down a tyrant. A town appeared in the distance after an hour of walking through farmland. Wooden buildings clustered together behind stone walls, smoke rising from chimneys in the afternoon air. It looked peaceful enough, normal even. I adjusted my stride as I approached the gates, testing how the new body moved. Everything felt lighter, faster, but less durable. The demonic resistances I'd relied on for centuries were gone, replaced with agility that would take some getting used to. The guards at the gate barely glanced at me as I entered. That was fine. Non-threatening was exactly what I'd wanted. The main street was busy with afternoon traffic. Merchants called out their wares, wagons rolled past with loads of grain and supplies, and people moved through the crowds with purpose. Almost all of them were human, and almost all of them were staring at me. Not friendly curiosity, not welcoming interest. Something colder, hostile awareness, like I'd walked into a space where I wasn't wanted and everyone knew it. I kept walking toward the market center, watching the crowd's reaction. A woman pulled her child closer as I passed. A merchant's hand drifted toward a club hanging from his belt. This wasn't normal wariness. This was organized hostility. The market square opened up ahead, and I saw the cage wagon immediately. It sat near the center of the square, like it belonged there. The wagon had iron bars and a heavy lock on the door. Inside, 3 bunnykin huddled together. A woman in her 20s with brown hair and rabbit ears sat protectively in front of 2 younger girls who couldn't have been more than 10 or 11. All 3 looked exhausted and terrified. Humans stood around the wagon like it was a normal part of market day. Some pointed, some laughed. Nobody seemed concerned that people were locked in a cage in broad daylight. I stopped walking and stared. The woman in the cage met my eyes. Hers were green and sharp, despite the fear in them, and she sat with the kind of tense readiness I recognized from soldiers who'd been in too many fights. The 2 girls pressed against her back, watching me with wide, frightened eyes. A hand grabbed my arm and yanked me sideways into an alley. I let myself be pulled, though I could have resisted easily enough. The person doing the pulling was another demi-human, a man with wolf ears and tail who looked like he'd been living rough for a while. His clothes were worn, and his face was lined with stress.
"What are you doing?"
He hissed, keeping his voice low.
"You can't just walk around openly like that."
I just did, I said.
"Are you insane?"
He checked the alley entrance, making sure no one had followed us.
"Humans are killing demi-humans in these towns, enslaving the ones they don't kill outright. Elves, dwarves, wolfkin, bunnykin, anyone who isn't human is either dead, enslaved, or running for the borders."
I processed that information. The hero had won, created his perfect world, and apparently decided perfection meant human dominance through violence and slavery. How long has this been happening? I asked.
"Years. It started slowly after the hero defeated the Demon King, then escalated. The hero claims demi-humans are corrupting humanity, preventing his perfect kingdom from being realized. Now it's open season on anyone who isn't human in the major cities and hero-controlled territories."
The wolfkin glanced at the alley entrance again.
"My name's Dorn. I'm trying to gather people and get them out of this town before they end up in cages like those bunnykin out there. But you need to hide or run, because if you stay visible, they'll grab you too."
I appreciate the warning, I said. Dorn studied my face, reading something there that made him tense.
"You're not going to hide, are you?"
Not in the slightest.
"They'll enslave you or kill you."
They can try, I said as I stepped past him toward the alley entrance. Thank you for the information, Dorn. It's useful context.
"Wait, what are you going to do?"
Free the people in the cage. I walked back into the market square before he could argue. The crowd noticed me immediately. Conversation died down as heads turned in my direction. 2 of the slavers guarding the cage moved toward me with purposeful strides, hands on their weapons. I didn't want to fight. Drawing too much attention this early would complicate the mission. But I also wasn't going to walk past a cage full of slaves and pretend it wasn't happening.
"You there, rabbit?"
One of the slavers called out.
"Stop right there."
I stopped. I don't suppose I could ask you to release these young ladies, I said, gesturing toward the cage. The slavers laughed. One of them spat on the ground. They approached with the confidence of people who expected immediate compliance. 4 more slavers detached from the crowd, all wearing similar leather armor and carrying clubs. One of them was a mage. I could feel the magic gathering around him as he started whispering an incantation. The sleep spell hit me like a wave of exhaustion. My eyelids grew heavy, my limbs felt sluggish, and the world started to blur at the edges. That was unexpected. I forced power through my body, creating a ward that shattered the spell's hold. The drowsiness faded, but slowly. Much slower than it should have. I was more vulnerable to magic in this body than I'd been as a demon. Good to know. The mage looked shocked that his spell had failed. The guards looked confused, and I was done waiting. My demonic blade materialized with a crackle of power in my hand. The slavers froze. I moved. The first one died before he could draw his weapon. I cut through him cleanly, stepped past the falling body, and took the second one's head off with a backhanded swing. The slavers with clubs tried to rush me. I killed 2 of them in the time it took them to cross 5 steps, my blade moving with precision that came from years of practice. The mage started another incantation. I threw the sword. It spun through the air and took him through the chest, pinning him to the wagon behind him. He made a wet, choking sound and went still. The last slaver ran. I raised my hand and cast a firebolt. The spell caught him in the back, burning through his chest. He collapsed mid-stride and didn't move again. I walked over to retrieve my blade, pulling it free from the dead mage's chest. The crowd had scattered to the edges of the square, watching with shock and fear. Nobody moved to stop me as I approached the cage wagon. I cut through the lock with the blade. It fell apart in pieces and I pulled the door open. The sword evaporated back into red energy and disappeared. The bunnykin woman moved first, stepping out of the cage with careful grace despite obvious exhaustion. She turned and helped the two girls down from the wagon, one at a time. They stayed close behind her, watching me with wide eyes.
Thank you.
The woman said. Her voice was steady despite everything.
I'm Tilly.
My name's Kalis, I said. Then looked at the two girls. Are they yours?
They're my nieces.
She smiled, and there was something bright and mischievous in that expression despite the circumstances.
So I'm actually single, if you were wondering.
I blinked at her.
Just thought I'd mention it.
She continued, looking me up and down with obvious appreciation.
Since you're easily the most handsome bunnykin I've seen in years, and you just killed 6 men to rescue me, that's the most heroic thing I've ever seen.
The two girls made quiet sounds that might have been giggles, pressing closer behind their aunt. Do you have somewhere safe to go? I asked, ignoring the flirting. Getting you home would be the practical next step.
You want to take me home after we've only just met?
She said, looking down shyly. I stared at her. Was she seriously flirting with me right now? We were standing next to dead bodies in a hostile town square. Tilly, I said carefully, we should focus on survival first.
But you're the one talking about taking an innocent bunny home,
she said with a wink. She walked over to one of the dead slavers and started going through his pockets. She found a key and used it to open a chest mounted on the side of the wagon. Inside was a belt with daggers. She strapped them on quickly, checking the fit before turning back to me. You're a rogue, I said.
Yeah, I sure am.
She said sheepishly.
Which is why it's embarrassing that I got caught. But in my defense, that mage's sleep spell was very effective. It dropped us before we could run.
I remembered the drowsiness, the way the spell had affected me more than it should have. Sleep magic seems to be effective, I said.
Unfortunately, yes.
Her expression shifted from playful to serious.
Thank you for freeing us. I was so scared, and I don't know what I would have done without you.
The two girls moved up beside her, and both of them greeted me with quiet voices I could barely hear. They looked young and scared, but safe now, at least for the moment. What are your plans from here? I asked. Tilly looked around at the crowd of humans watching from the edges of the square. Her expression shifted to concern as she pulled her nieces closer.
I need to get them back to my sister's house. She must be so worried about us.
I'll help you get them there safely, I said. Her face lit up, and before I could react, she threw her arms around me in a tight hug.
I knew I wasn't wrong about you.
I stood there awkwardly, not quite sure what to do with my hands. She was warm and soft against me, and I could feel her trembling slightly. I carefully peeled her off, taking a small step back. It's just practical, I managed to say. The streets aren't safe right now. She beamed at me, wiping at her eyes quickly.
Come on, girls.
She took each of their hands.
Let's get you home to your mother.
I followed as they headed away from the wagon, very aware of the hostile stares tracking our movement through the square. Tilly reached back and grabbed my hand as we walked, pulling me closer.
Stay near us,
she said quietly.
I feel safer with you here.
I took the hand of one of the nieces with my other hand, making sure she stayed close. The streets weren't safe, and I didn't want any of them getting separated from the group. I scanned the area as we moved through the poorer section of town. The buildings were smaller here, less maintained, with narrow alleys between them. A few humans watched us pass with suspicious eyes, but nobody moved to stop us. Now that we were out of immediate danger, I found myself noticing details I'd missed before. Tilly was actually quite beautiful. Her brown hair caught the late afternoon light, and those green eyes were striking even when filled with worry. She moved with a natural grace despite her obvious exhaustion, and the way she protectively held her nieces close showed a strength that went beyond physical capability. I forced myself to focus on our surroundings instead of staring at her.
It's just up here,
she said, gesturing toward a modest house at the end of the street. The door opened before we reached it, and a woman who looked remarkably like Tilly rushed out.
Girls.
She pulled all three of them into a fierce hug, tears streaming down her face.
I was so scared. You were gone for so long, I didn't know what happened to you.
We're okay, Lila.
Tilly said softly.
This is Kalis. He rescued us.
Lila looked at me over her sister's shoulder, her eyes red from crying.
Thank you so much.
She pulled back and wiped her face.
Come inside, please, all of you.
The house was small but clean, with half-packed bags scattered across the main room. Lila had clearly been preparing to flee when we arrived. Are you leaving? I asked.
Tonight,
Lila said.
there's a group of demi-humans evacuating to the Northern Territories. I was going to go with them, but I couldn't leave without my daughters.
She hugged her girls again.
Now we can all go together.
Tilly was watching me with an odd expression. Lila noticed and grinned.
Looks like you found yourself a boyfriend.
We'll probably get married.
Tilly said matter-of-factly.
He just doesn't know it yet.
I felt heat rush to my face. We just met,
Yeah, we bunnies move really fast sometimes.
Lila said with a knowing smile.
But it can't be helped.
Tilly moved closer to me, looking up with those green eyes.
You're not already married, are you?
No, I said carefully.
Good.
She smiled brightly.
How many kids do you want? I'm 22, so I can have at least 12. Maybe more if you want.
I opened my mouth and closed it again, completely unsure how to respond to that. I haven't really thought about it,
Well, you should start thinking about it.
she said cheerfully.
These things are important.
Lila laughed.
Tilly, give the poor man some space. He just saved your life. Don't scare him off immediately.
I'm not scaring him.
Tilly protested.
I'm being practical. Right, Kalis?
I was definitely not used to this level of forwardness. I appreciate your directness, I managed to say. Lila turned serious again.
Will you two come with us tonight? The group is leaving after dark. It's safer to travel in numbers.
No, I said. I'm here to kill the hero. I need to reach the capital. The room went quiet. Both sisters stared at me.
The hero?
Lila said slowly.
The tyrant who rules from the capital?
That's the one. Tilly's eyes went wide.
That's so dangerous. You could die.
It's what I came here to do, I said simply. She grabbed both my hands, looking worried.
But what about us? What about our future together?
Tilly, I don't think you understand. I can't think about marriage or relationships until the hero is dead. That's my mission. Her expression shifted from worry to determination.
So after we kill the hero, then we can get married?
That wasn't what I'd meant at all. I was saying I can't focus on...
Perfect.
She beamed at me.
Then let's go kill the hero together. I can help. I'm a rogue, remember? I'm good at sneaking and stabbing.
I looked at Lila for help, but she just shrugged.
She's determined when she sets her mind to something. You're not going to talk her out of it.
This is insane, I said.
Maybe.
Tilly said.
But I'm coming with you, honey bunny.
Honey bunny?
You don't mind, do you?
She asked, smiling at me. I was completely out of my depth here, but the practical part of my mind pointed out that I didn't actually know this world. A local guide who knew the territory and culture would be useful. Fine, I said carefully. You can come, but I need you to follow my lead, and if things get too dangerous, you run. Understood?
Understood.
She hugged me again, this time even tighter.
I knew you'd say yes. We're going to make such a good team.
Lila watched us with amusement.
I'll be fine if you're worried about me. The demi-human group is well organized, and they've been getting people out safely for weeks. We'll head north to the Bunnykin territories and meet up with you there eventually.
How long will it take us to reach the capital? I asked.
On foot? About a week if you push hard. There are towns along the way where you can resupply.
Lila started pulling items from her packed bags.
Take these. Money, food, water, and basic supplies. I have plenty to share.
Tilly was still holding on to me, her head resting against my shoulder.
This is so exciting. Our first adventure together as a couple.
We're not a couple, I said weakly.
Please don't tease me like that.
She said sadly. I looked down at her, and she smiled up at me with such genuine warmth and trust that I felt something shift in my chest. This was definitely going to be complicated. We waited until full dark before leaving. The moon was bright enough to see by, casting long shadows across the empty streets. Most humans were inside for the night, which meant fewer eyes watching us leave town. I preferred it this way. Stealth over slaughter. No point drawing more attention from the regime than necessary. Tilly walked beside me, practically bouncing with excitement.
This is so exciting. Our first real adventure together. Where do you think we'll sleep tonight? Do you think we'll see bandits?
Tilly, I said quietly. We need to stay quiet.
Oh, right, sorry.
She lowered her voice to a whisper that was somehow louder than her normal speaking voice.
This is so exciting, though. I can't believe we're actually doing this.
Quieter, please.
Sorry.
She pressed her lips together, managing to stay silent for almost a full minute before starting up again. By the time we cleared the town walls, I'd hushed her at least a dozen times. She was trying, genuinely trying, but excitement kept bubbling out of her in a constant stream of whispered questions and observations. It was exhausting and oddly endearing at the same time. We walked until the moon was high overhead, and my new body was starting to protest the extended movement. The rabbitkin form had less endurance than I was used to. We should camp here, I said, gesturing to a small clearing off the road. Trees provided cover, and the ground was relatively flat.
Finally.
Tilly dropped her pack and stretched.
My feet are killing me. I'm not used to walking this much.
I pulled out the bedrolls Lila had given us and started laying mine out on one side of the clearing.
What are you doing?
Tilly asked, setting up my bedroll.
Why are you putting it all the way over there?
Because that's where I'm sleeping. She picked up her own bedroll and walked over to where I was standing.
We should share. We'll be warmer that way.
We'll be fine separately, I said carefully. The night isn't that cold.
But we're practically engaged,
she said, looking up at me with those green eyes.
It's normal for engaged couples to sleep close together.
We're not engaged.
Not officially, but you know what I mean.
She started unrolling her bedroll right next to mine, overlapping them slightly.
Besides, what if something dangerous comes in the night? You'll want to be close to protect me, right?
I opened my mouth to argue, then closed it. She had a point about the proximity for safety, even if her reasoning was questionable. Fine, I said, but we're keeping the bedrolls separate.
Sure.
She smiled and started arranging things. I sat down and pulled off my boots, trying to ignore how close she was. Tilly was wearing dark leggings that fit snugly and a loose tunic that hung off one shoulder. Simple traveling clothes, practical and comfortable, but I found myself very aware of her presence. I laid down on my bedroll, facing away from her, and closed my eyes.
Good night, honey bunny,
she said softly. Good night, Tilly. I felt her shift on her own bedroll, and then I felt warmth against my back. She'd scooted over and was pressed against me, one arm draped over my side. Tilly, I said.
Uh-huh.
What are you doing?
Sleeping. I'm cold and you're so warm over here. You don't mind, do you?
I'd never met a girl this forward in my life. This isn't appropriate, I said.
Why not? Just let me stay like this, please. I feel safe when I'm close to you.
I sighed. There was no winning this argument, and part of me didn't actually want to. She was warm and soft, and having her close felt nice. Fine, I said quietly. But we're sleeping, that's all?
Of course.
I could hear the smile in her voice.
Sweet dreams, my honey bunny.
I closed my eyes and tried to ignore how fast my heart was beating. I woke to shouting and the sound of boots on dirt.
On your feet, both of you.
I opened my eyes to see at least a dozen soldiers surrounding our camp, weapons drawn. The sun was just starting to rise, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. Tilly shot upright beside me, immediately reaching for her daggers.
Kalis, we're surrounded.
One of the soldiers stepped forward, a man with a sergeant's insignia on his armor.
You're both under arrest. You'll be taken to the capital for processing.
I put a hand on her shoulder, keeping my movement slow and calm. Put the daggers down.
What? But they're...
Put them down, I said firmly. She looked at me with confusion and fear in her eyes, but she lowered her weapons.
Processing for what?
Tilly asked, her voice shaking.
Slavery, most likely,
the sergeant said casually.
Maybe execution if you cause trouble. Now stand up slowly and put your hands out.
Tilly looked at me, panic clear on her face. I stood up calmly and held out my hands. The soldier who approached tied them with rough rope, binding my wrists together in front of me.
Kalis, what are you doing?
Tilly whispered frantically as another soldier tied her hands.
We should fight.
It'll be all right, I said.
But we're being arrested.
I know, I acknowledged.
They're taking us to the capital.
I know, I said simply. The sergeant grabbed my arm and shoved me toward a large cage wagon waiting on the road.
Move, both of you.
I climbed into the wagon without resistance. The cage was maybe 8 feet by 10 feet, with iron bars and a locked door. There was straw on the floor, and several other prisoners already inside, all demi-humans of various races. Tilly was pushed in behind me, and the door clanged shut. She stared at me with wide eyes.
Why did you let them capture us?
"Where are they taking us?" I asked.
You heard him. The capital.
She looked confused.
But why did you...
"And where were we going?" I met her eyes. Her mouth fell open as understanding dawned.
You surrendered on purpose.
"Free ride?" I said with a slight shrug. I looked around the wagon, noting the other prisoners. 2 bunnykin huddled in one corner. A wolfkin sat against the far wall, and an elf leaned against the bars, looking exhausted. The wagon lurched into motion.
But we're prisoners.
Tilly said, temporarily. I settled down against the side of the wagon and looked up at her. "Come here."
What?
"Sit down. We've got a few days of travel ahead of us." She sat down next to me, still looking confused and scared. I laid my head in her lap and closed my eyes.
Kalis.
Uh-huh.
What are you doing?
Getting comfortable. Wake me up if anything interesting happens.
You're going to sleep? Right now?
I'm tired. We walked a long way last night. I shifted slightly, finding a more comfortable position with my head resting on her thighs. This is actually working out perfectly. No walking, direct route to the capital, and I can rest while we travel.
You're insane.
She whispered. Probably, I yawned, but I'm also very tired. I felt her hand hesitantly touch my hair, fingers running through it gently. Despite everything, I found the gesture soothing.
You really planned this?
She asked softly. No, but I'm taking advantage of it. Now let me sleep. Her fingers continued their gentle movement through my hair, and I felt myself drifting off to the sound of wagon wheels on dirt and Tilly's quiet breathing above me. The wagon rolled for hours. I dozed on and off, vaguely aware of Tilly's anxious watching of the road and the quiet murmurs of other prisoners. Eventually, I opened my eyes and sat up. The wolfkin from the corner was watching me with a knowing expression.
You're either very brave or very stupid.
Dorn, I said, recognizing him. Thought you were evacuating with the group.
Got caught before I could leave.
He glanced at Tilly.
See, you picked up a companion.
Something like that. The elf leaning against the bars spoke up, his voice tired and resigned.
You're all going to die in the capital, you know. Or worse, enslaved. The hero doesn't show mercy to our kind.
What happened to him? I asked. The hero? How did he go from savior to tyrant? The elf laughed bitterly.
Same way they all do. He defeated the demon king, came back expecting paradise. Instead, he found people still committing crimes, still fighting, still being human. It broke something in him.
Dorn nodded.
He thought removing the demons would fix everything. When it didn't, he started looking for other causes. Decided demi-humans were corrupting humanity, preventing his perfect world from manifesting.
The people crowned him king after his victory.
The elf continued.
His companion priestess Saria became his queen. Now he's become zealous about purging anyone who isn't human. Uses soldiers to round us up, enslave us, kill us, all in the name of creating his perfect harmony.
How long has this been going on?
Tilly asked quietly.
It started slowly after the demon king fell.
Dorn said.
But it's escalated recently. That's why we were trying to flee. Humans hunt us now, and we run or die.
I leaned back against the wagon, processing this information. It made a terrible kind of sense. Heroes were raised for one purpose: defeat the demon king, save the world, be the symbol of righteousness. That singular focus often left them unprepared for the messy reality of society. When the world didn't transform into paradise after their victory, they didn't know how to cope with the disappointment. Some fell into depression, some became bitter, and some, like Edrin, decided the problem wasn't their expectations, but the people who failed to meet them. It was almost tragic.
You feel sorry for him?
The elf said, watching my face. I understand him, I said carefully. Heroes are often trapped by their own conditioning. They're told they're special, that their destiny is to save everyone, that defeating evil will bring peace. When that doesn't happen, when humans keep being humans despite their sacrifice, it breaks them.
That doesn't excuse what he's doing,
Dorn said. No, I agreed, it doesn't. But understanding the tragedy doesn't mean I won't stop him. Tilly looked at me with something like awe.
You really are going to kill him, aren't you?
That's the plan.
And you surrendered to get a free ride to do it.
Efficient, isn't it? I said. She laughed, a slightly hysterical sound, and shook her head.
You're absolutely insane, honey bunny.
Probably, I agreed. But it's working so far. The wagon continued rolling toward the capital, carrying its cargo of prisoners and one very patient former demon king who was perfectly happy to let his enemies transport him directly to his target. The wagon rolled for 3 days. I slept more than I'd slept in months, using Tilly's lap as a pillow while she kept anxious watch over the road. Dorn and the other prisoners talked quietly about what awaited us, but I tuned most of it out. I had my own plans. There wasn't anything to worry about. On the 3rd evening, the wagon slowed. I opened my eyes and sat up.
We're here,
the elf said quietly.
the capital.
The wagon passed through what must have been the city gates. I could hear more traffic now, voices calling out, the sounds of a busy city at dusk. We rolled through streets for another 10 minutes before the wagon turned sharply and entered a large warehouse. The temperature dropped immediately as we moved inside, and a smell hit me that made Tilly gag. Rotting flesh, old death mixed with fresh. The wagon stopped. Guards moved around outside, talking in low voices, but they didn't open our cage. Instead, the wagon lurched forward again, rolling deeper into the warehouse. Through the bars, I could see rows of cages lining the walls, packed with demi-humans in various states of despair. Armed guards patrolled between them, faces blank with indifference to the suffering around them. And in the far corner, illuminated by torchlight, was a pile of corpses, some fresh, some rotting, some reduced to bone. The pile was at least 10 bodies deep. A guard walked past our wagon, smacking his spear against the bars.
See that pile? That's where troublemakers go. If you make noise, cause problems, or try to escape, you'll join them. We don't have time for difficult inventory.
The wagon rolled to a stop in the center of the warehouse. Guards moved away, leaving us locked in the cage. Tilly pressed against my side, trembling. The other prisoners from our wagon looked haunted. Tilly grabbed my arm the moment the guards moved away.
Kayleigh,
She whispered, her voice shaking.
we need to get out of here. This place is horrible. They're going to kill us.
Just relax, I said quietly.
Relax? Did you see that pile of...
I saw it. Calm down.
How can you be so calm right now?
Because this is going perfectly. It's fine, I said. Trust me. I scanned the warehouse carefully, counting guards. 12 visible, probably more in back rooms. The building had 2 large doors at the front where we'd entered, and likely smaller exits in the back. Good. I needed to know all the ways out. I closed my eyes and reached out with my magic, feeling the boundaries of the building. The walls were thick stone, the doors reinforced wood and iron. Perfect for what I had in mind. I wove the barrier spell carefully, layer by layer, until it wrapped around the entire warehouse like invisible chains. Nothing would get in. More importantly, nothing would get out. When I opened my eyes, Tilly was watching me with wide eyes.
What did you just do?
Made sure we won't be interrupted, I said.
Interrupted with what?
I turned my attention to the pile of corpses in the corner. 30, maybe 40 bodies. Some had been dead for weeks, some for days, some were barely cold. All of them carried the echo of violent death. I reached out with necromancy, something I hadn't used in this world yet. The spell connected to each corpse like invisible threads, pulling at the lingering energy of their deaths. The pile shifted. A guard noticed.
What the?
Bones began to move. Bodies that still had flesh twitched as the meat sloughed off, leaving clean white skeletons underneath. They pulled themselves free from the tangle of the dead, eye sockets glowing with cold blue light.
Sound the alarm?
The guard shouted. I leaned back against the cage bars, watching. The undead rose as one. Skeletons launched themselves at the nearest guards, bone claws ripping through throats. Another skeleton tackled a guard to the ground, bony fingers tearing into him.
Sound the alarm.
A guard screamed, drawing his sword. Too late. A skeleton leapt from its first kill to the next guard, slamming into his chest and driving him backward into the bars. More undead swarmed forward. The guards tried to form a defensive line, but the undead came from all sides. Swords cut through bone, but the skeletons didn't stop. A guard chopped the arm off a skeleton, and it kept coming with its remaining hand. 3 guards broke away, running for the main doors. They slammed into my barrier and bounced back. One of them pounded on the invisible wall with his fists.
"It won't open. We're trapped."
The undead reached them before they could turn around. It was over in less than 3 minutes. Tilly was gripping my arm. But when I looked at her, she wasn't afraid. Her eyes were wide with something closer to awe.
That was amazing.
She breathed.
You're amazing. How did you do that?
Necromancy, I said simply. I was planning on killing them myself, but they were kind enough to provide all those dead bodies.
You're so powerful.
She looked at me like I'd just done the most impressive thing she'd ever seen.
No wonder you weren't worried.
Around us, other prisoners were backing away from the bars, staring at the undead that now stood motionless throughout the warehouse. Dorn looked grim, but unsurprised. The elf just looked tired. I stood up and walked to the cage door. The lock was simple iron, designed to keep prisoners in but not to resist magic. I grabbed the lock with my hand. Red light glowed between my fingers, and the metal began to corrode rapidly. Rust spread across the surface like a disease, eating through the iron until it crumbled in my grip. I crushed the weakened metal to dust and let it fall to the ground. The door swung open. I stepped out into the warehouse and looked around. Tilly followed immediately, staying close to my side.
You could have done that the whole time.
Of course, I said. Now we need to figure out the next part. Dorn and the elf climbed out behind us. The 2 bunnykin from our wagon followed hesitantly, staying close together. Search the guards and find the keys so we can free everyone, I told Dorn. The undead were still standing where they'd stopped, waiting. Prisoners were glancing at them nervously. Move to the corner and wait out of sight, I commanded. The skeletons shuffled into the far corner of the warehouse, away from the cages. Better to keep them out of view. No point terrifying the people I was trying to save. Dorn returned with a ring of keys, and we moved systematically through the warehouse, unlocking every cage. 32 additional demi-humans stumbled out, looking haggard and malnourished. Some could barely walk. All of them looked at me with a mixture of fear and desperate hope. An older bunnykin woman approached slowly.
Thank you so much for saving us, young man.
You're welcome, but we aren't safe yet, I said. I'll make sure you are. I turned to address the group. 32 freed prisoners, plus Tilly, Dorn, the elf, and the 2 bunnykin from our wagon. 37 people total, most of them weak from captivity. This was going to be complicated. But first, we needed to get out of the capital alive. Dorn approached, looking grim.
We could use the undead as shock troops. March straight through the gates and fight our way out.
That won't work, I said. It would force a slaughter through the entire city. We'd have to kill everyone between here and the gates, including innocent people caught in the chaos.
So what do you suggest?
We use stealth instead, I said. Getting everyone out safely is the most important thing right now. Tilly was watching me with that same odd expression.
You really think everything through, don't you?
I try to, I said. I turned to survey the warehouse. We'll need supplies for the journey. Check the storage rooms for food and water, whatever they've been feeding the prisoners. Load it all into the wagon. The elf spoke up for the first time since we'd freed him.
There are cloaks in the guard quarters. We could use them to hide our features.
Good thinking, I said. Get them distributed to everyone. The most obvious demi-humans should ride inside the wagon cage, so they appear to be prisoners being transported. Make sure the undead wear cloaks as well so no one can see what they are. Tilly grabbed my arm.
What about us?
We'll walk with them until we're clear of the city and they're safe. Then we'll come back.
Come back?
She looked worried.
Into the capital?
That's where the hero is. Her expression shifted from worry to determination.
Right, of course. I'll stay with you until the end no matter what.
She said and gave me a hug. Over the next hour, we prepared. The refugees loaded food and supplies into the wagon. Cloaks were distributed, dark and heavy enough to conceal ears and tails. The weakest prisoners climbed into the cage wagon, and we arranged them to look like they were still imprisoned. The undead pulled their hoods low, hiding their skeletal features. By the time we finished, it looked like a legitimate prison transport. We wait until the middle of the night, I said. Fewer people on the streets, darker shadows. Better chance of slipping out unnoticed. While we waited for full darkness, Tilly moved between the refugees with quiet kindness, helping organize people and comforting the weaker ones. She made sure everyone had what they needed. When the night was at its darkest, I dropped the barrier spell around the warehouse. The invisible walls dissolved, and the main doors were accessible again. Move quietly, I told everyone. Stay together. If anyone asks, you're transporting prisoners to a work camp outside the city. We rolled the wagon out into the street. The capital was quiet at this hour, only a few torches burning on main thoroughfares. Most humans were asleep. I walked at the front of the convoy with Tilly beside me. Dorn drove the wagon. The cloaked refugees and hidden undead followed behind in a tight group. We passed a pair of guards on patrol. One of them glanced at us but just nodded and kept walking. To them, we looked like exactly what we were pretending to be. The city gates were the biggest risk. Guards were always posted there, and they'd want to inspect the cargo. When we approached, I stepped forward. Prison transport, taking these prisoners to the northern work camp. The guard looked skeptical.
At this hour?
Orders came down tonight. They want them there before dawn. He peered into the wagon, saw prisoners huddled in the cage, and shrugged.
Fine. Go through.
The gates opened, and we walked out of the capital without incident. Tilly squeezed my hand.
That was amazing. You didn't even have to fight anyone?
I'm grateful for that, I said. I've killed enough people already. We kept moving through the night, putting distance between us and the city. By dawn, we were several miles out, following the main road north. We stopped to rest when the sun was high overhead. The refugees needed the break, and honestly, so did I. Tilly sat beside me under the shade of a tree, and we talked while the others rested. She told me about her hometown in the northern Bunnykin territories. The small houses built into hillsides, the markets that filled the streets every morning, the festivals where everyone would dance until dawn. Her eyes lit up when she described it, and I found myself asking questions just to keep her talking. What was the weather like? What did people do for work? Did she have friends she missed? The conversation flowed easily between us. We never seemed to run out of things to talk about. She'd ask me about where I learned magic, or what I planned to do after dealing with the hero, and I'd find myself answering more honestly than I expected. Somehow we'd end up laughing about something neither of us expected to find funny. I realized I loved talking with her. The way she listened with complete attention. The way she'd grab my arm when she got excited about something. The way she looked at me like I was the most interesting person she'd ever met. When the refugees were ready to move again, we continued north together. I stayed with them through the rest of the day, walking beside Tilly and talking about everything and nothing. By evening of the second day, I judged we'd put enough distance between the refugees and the capital. This is far enough, I told Dorn. Keep heading north. The undead will protect you until you reach Bunnykin territory. I turned to the skeletons standing in formation. Follow this man's commands as if they were my own, until I tell you otherwise. The skeletons shifted slightly in acknowledgement. Dorn looked surprised.
Are you sure you don't need them?
They're too weak for what I need to do, I said dismissively. They'd only get in the way. Besides, you're not out of danger yet. I'll feel much better knowing you have proper protection on the road north. Dorn clasped my shoulder.
Thank you for all of this.
You're welcome. Until we meet again, my friend. He nodded and turned back to the convoy. The refugees were already moving again, tired but hopeful. I stood on the road and watched them go. Tilly stood beside me, looking back toward the capital in the distance.
So we're really going back there?
That's the plan.
To kill the hero?
That's right, I said. She was quiet for a moment, then smiled.
This is so exciting. Just the two of us against the whole palace.
You can still go with them if you want. This is going to be dangerous.
No way.
She grabbed my hand.
I'm staying with you, honey bunny. Wherever you go, I go.
I looked down at her. She was smiling up at me with complete trust and something deeper I wasn't quite ready to examine. Then let's go kill a hero, I said. We turned back toward the capital and started walking. The journey south took longer than I'd hoped. Tilly was exhausted from days of constant walking, and I had to slow our pace so she could keep up. The main road felt exposed in daylight, but we didn't have much choice. By evening, we were still hours away from the capital. I found a spot off the road where trees provided cover, and we set up a small camp. Tilly sat close to me as the sun went down, her shoulder pressed against mine.
Are you sure you can beat him?
She asked quietly.
The hero, I mean. What if he's stronger than you think?
He's not, I said with complete certainty.
But what if...
Tilly. I turned to look at her. I've killed stronger opponents than Edrin. He's just a man with a title and too much power. Tomorrow he loses both. She was quiet for a moment, then leaned her head against my shoulder.
I don't want to lose you.
You won't, I said, putting my arm around her. I promise. She took my hand and held it tight, like she was afraid I might disappear if she let go. We sat together in the quiet darkness, and eventually she fell asleep with her head on my shoulder. I stayed awake for a while longer, watching the stars and thinking about tomorrow. When the fire had burned down to embers, I carefully rolled out our bedrolls. Tilly barely stirred as I gently lifted her and laid her down in hers. I wrapped the blanket around her so she wouldn't get cold during the night. She mumbled something sleepy and smiled without opening her eyes. I settled into my own bedroll beside her. We had a long day ahead of us tomorrow, and I needed rest. Within minutes, I fell asleep to the sound of her quiet breathing. We woke at dawn and continued south. By late afternoon, we reached a ridge overlooking the capital. The capital spread out below us, and I could see the castle rising from the center like a crown of stone. Walls surrounded it, guards patrolled the ramparts, and torches were already being lit as dusk approached. I studied the castle carefully, looking for ways to get inside that weren't heavily guarded. The main gates would be too risky. The front walls had regular patrols, but the back sections, near what looked like the residence wing, seemed quieter.
We still have our cloaks,
Tilly said, following my gaze.
We can just walk into the city like we did before.
She was right. The guards at the gates wouldn't question 2 more travelers entering the capital. Once we were inside, getting to the castle would be the real challenge. Tilly stood beside me, staring at the castle with excitement in her eyes.
So we're just going to rush in and fight through the whole castle?
Absolutely not, I said.
Why not?
She asked. I'm not here to butcher random guards who are just following orders. The goal is Edrin, not a body count. If I turn this into a massacre, it alerts the whole city and puts everyone we just freed at risk. She pouted for a moment, then grinned.
You're so cold and calculating when you talk like that. I like it.
We wait for full darkness, I said, ignoring the comment. Then we go in quietly.
How quietly?
Quiet enough that the only evidence we were here is the hero's corpse. Her eyes went wide.
That's actually really scary when you say it like that.
That's the idea, I said. We moved back from the ridge and found a concealed spot among the rocks. I pulled off my pack and started sorting through our supplies.
What are you doing?
Tilly asked. Leaving everything we don't need. Can't exactly sneak into a castle with a full pack on my back. We kept only our cloaks to cover our ears and Tilly's daggers strapped around her waist. Everything else stayed hidden under the rock overhang.
Traveling light,
she said approvingly. It's the smart way to do this, I said. Then we settled in to wait for nightfall. The sun set slowly, painting the capital in shades of orange and red before finally sinking below the horizon. The city lights came on one by one, but there were long stretches of shadow between them. Perfect. Are you ready? I asked. Tilly nodded, her playful expression replaced by focused determination. We descended from the ridge and approached the main gate. There were other travelers coming and going, merchants and workers heading home or arriving late. We pulled our hoods up and joined the flow of people. The guards barely glanced at us as we passed through, just 2 more cloaked figures in a city full of them. I took Tilly's hand as we walked through the streets. To anyone watching, we looked like a couple heading home for the night. We moved calmly through the city toward the castle, not rushing, not hiding. The castle loomed larger as we got closer. I studied the walls carefully, looking for an entry point that wouldn't involve fighting our way through the main gate. The first floor had only narrow slits for windows. Defensive design, smart but limiting. The second floor had actual windows, though, and one of them was on the quieter side of what looked like a residence wing. "That window there," I said, pointing. Tilly looked up at the wall, then immediately started climbing. The stonework was rough enough to provide handholds, and she moved up it with surprising speed and confidence. I simply cast a levitation spell and rose smoothly through the air. She reached the window first and turned around with a smug expression. Then she froze when she saw me floating up beside her. "If you'd waited," I said dryly, "I could have carried you." Her mouth fell open.
You're telling me this now? I could have been in your arms floating up dramatically, and you let me climb like a peasant.
"You looked like you were having fun with it," I said.
That's not the point.
She tried to sound offended, but couldn't stop grinning. "Can you please be quiet?" I whispered. "We're supposed to be sneaking." She put her hand over her mouth, eyes still sparkling with amusement, and climbed through the window. I followed her inside. The interior was quieter than I'd expected. We'd entered what looked like a guest wing, with hallways lined with closed doors and minimal lighting. Most guards were outside or in the main sections of the castle. Internal patrols seemed light. We moved carefully through the corridors, listening for footsteps or voices. I heard boots on stone around the next corner and turned to coordinate with Tilly. She was gone, just completely vanished, like she'd never been there at all. A guard rounded the corner and stopped when he saw me standing in the hallway.
"Who are you?"
he demanded, hand going to his sword.
"What are you doing in this section?"
I kept my expression calm and tried a simple lie. "I'm a visitor. A fan of the hero, actually. I came to speak with him about gratitude and loyalty to the kingdom." The guard's eyes narrowed.
"At this hour? In the private wing? How did you even get in here?"
"I can explain." Before he could draw his sword or call for help, Tilly appeared behind him like a shadow coming to life. She brought the pommel of her dagger down on the back of his head in one smooth motion. I caught him before he hit the floor and dragged him quickly into a nearby room, closing the door behind us. "Fast, silent, and he's still breathing," I said approvingly. "Well done." Tilly beamed like I'd just given her the greatest compliment in the world. We stepped back into the hallway and kept moving. The castle's front sections were clearly administrative and ceremonial, large rooms meant for meetings and displays of power. But the back wing felt different. Warmer lighting, quieter hallways, the sense of actual people living here rather than just working. This was the residence wing, where Edrin and Saria lived. We walked quietly through the corridors, listening for voices or footsteps. Then I heard it. Voices raised in argument, coming from behind a set of double doors ahead. I held up a hand until he stopped beside me. We moved closer, staying quiet.
"You're being unreasonable,"
a woman's voice said. Saria, I assumed.
"These were our allies, people who fought beside us for years. You can't just—"
They were contaminated.
Edrin interrupted, his voice cold.
Beast folk corruption spreading through the population. I'm fixing what's broken.
"The problem isn't contamination,"
Saria said, her voice rising.
"It's human nature. Oppression won't heal a broken society. It just creates more suffering."
You don't understand what I'm trying to build here.
"I understand perfectly. You've become exactly what we fought against."
I listened carefully. Saria sounded genuinely distressed. Edrin sounded like a man who'd convinced himself he was right, no matter what reality showed him. I wasn't surprised, but I was disappointed. Tilly leaned close and whispered in my ear.
He's supposed to be a legendary fighter, and she's the one who keeps him alive with healing magic. If she can heal him freely, this becomes a war of attrition.
I nodded. She was right. "I'll draw his attention and keep him occupied," I whispered back. "You circle around and find another way in. Neutralize her healing without killing her if you can."
Of course I understand,
Tilly said, then disappeared down a side corridor so silently I almost didn't notice her leave. I took a breath, stepped up to the double doors, and pushed them open. The room was large and comfortable, clearly a private living area. Edrin stood near the center, tall and imposing even in casual clothing. Saria was across from him in a simple white dress. They both turned when I entered. Syria's eyes went wide.
How did you get in here, guards?
Edrin's reaction was immediate disgust.
What is this beast doing in my home?
I kept my voice calm and even. I apologize for the intrusion, but I've been sent to bring this situation to an end.
You dare!
I'm offering you a way out, I said, cutting him off. Step down from power and live peacefully. Let someone capable rebuild what you've broken. You don't have to die tonight. Edrin drew his sword, the blade ringing as it left the scabbard.
Who are you to speak to me like this? Who do you think you are?
I summoned my demonic blade. It materialized in my hand, dark energy crackling along its edge. Edrin took a step back. Then his eyes began to glow with a golden light.
A praise,
he said, his voice taking on an otherworldly quality. The light intensified for a moment, then faded. His expression shifted from confusion to shock.
Demon King?
He said slowly.
That's impossible. The demons were all killed years ago. You're just a pathetic rabbitkin.
There's always a hero, I said calmly. There's always a demon king. Kill one, and another rises. It's a cycle.
I've killed a demon king before,
Edrin said, his confidence returning.
He was far more impressive than you. And what's a demon king without any demons?
I don't suppose I'll be able to convince you to step down, will I? I said quietly. Edrin didn't bother responding. He came at me with his sword raised. I raised my blade and met his strike. The impact rang through the room like a bell. He was fast, skilled. Every movement was refined and precise, the result of years of legendary combat experience. I started casting enhancement spells on myself. Strength, speed, endurance. The magic flowed through my body, and I felt the power settle into my muscles. Combined with the natural agility of this rabbitkin body, I could match him. Syria was already casting as well. Golden light flowed from her hands to Edrin, layering protection spells and enhancements over him. She was supporting him from the start. We exchanged blows, testing each other. He struck high, I ducked and countered. I feinted left. He read it and parried. Back and forth across the room. I noticed immediately that I lacked the raw physical strength I'd had in my original demon body. I couldn't overpower him with brute force. I had to fight smarter. Small cuts opened on both of us. Nothing serious yet, just the inevitable result of two skilled fighters trying to kill each other. Blood was drawn. Fatigue started building. After a particularly heavy exchange, Edrin disengaged and backed away.
Cydia,
he commanded.
Heal me.
Golden light flowed from her hands to him. The cuts on his arms and face closed instantly. My own wounds were closing too, but slower. Demon King regeneration wasn't instant, but it was steady. Edrin smiled.
I'm learning your pattern. You're skilled, but you're still just another demon to be purged.
You're better than the others I've fought, I said. A prodigy, high talent backed by experience. I'll have to try a bit harder. Then I summoned a second blade. Dual wielding changed everything. The tempo shifted. I pressed forward with attacks from multiple angles, forcing him to defend rather than counterattack. He started taking more damage now. New cuts appeared faster than before. His guard was slipping. His breathing turned rough.
Cydia,
he called again, more urgently.
Heal me.
No answer. He glanced toward her and froze. Tilly stood behind Syria with a dagger at her throat. The priestess was completely still, eyes wide with fear. I created distance immediately and spoke clearly. We won't hurt her. She's just out of the battle, that's all. I turned to Edrin. Step down and live a good life. Don't throw away everything for pride. For a moment, I thought he might actually consider it. Then his expression twisted into something ugly.
Useless.
He spat at Syria.
Always useless when it matters.
He raised his sword, and I saw the artifact enchantment activate. The blade glowed with power. Then he threw it, not at me, at Syria and Tilly. The sword flew through the air like a living thing. It pierced straight through Syria's stomach and continued into Tilly's stomach before teleporting back to Edrin's hand like it had never left. Both women collapsed. Syria was gasping, clutching her stomach. Tilly curled up on the floor, crying, blood spreading across her shirt.
Syria, heal yourself and get back in the fight,
Edrin commanded coldly. Something broke inside me. I didn't think, I didn't plan. I just attacked. My blades came down on Edrin like a storm. Faster, heavier, more vicious than before. Every strike carried all the rage and pain I'd been holding back. He tried to keep up. He tried to stabilize. But he couldn't.
Seria,
He screamed.
heal me now.
I saw golden light flare across the room, but it wasn't flowing to Edrin. Syria had finished healing herself, and instead of helping her husband, she turned and pressed her hands to Tilly's stomach. The golden light poured into the bunnykin girl, closing the wound, pulling her back from the edge. Syria chose mercy. Edrin's face twisted with fury.
You incompetent woman.
He never finished the sentence. His distraction cost him everything. I drove both blades through his guard and into his chest. He staggered backward, eyes wide with shock and disbelief. Then he fell. The room went silent, except for Tilly's quiet breathing and Syria's soft crying. It was over. I dismissed both blades and rushed to Tilly's side. Syria's healing had finished its work. The wound was completely closed. Tilly was whole again, but she was shaking, tears streaming down her face. I lifted her into my arms and held her close. She buried her face in my shoulder and cried. Not from pain anymore, but from the terror of almost dying. I held her and didn't say anything. Words wouldn't help right now. Just being there was enough. We stayed like that for longer than I expected to. Eventually, her shaking stopped and her breathing steadied.
I'm okay.
She whispered against my shoulder.
I'm okay now.
I looked over at Syria. She was standing a few feet away from Edrin's body, trembling. Her white dress was stained with blood. Her eyes were red from crying. She looked at me with pure fear.
Are you going to kill me?
She asked quietly. No, I'm not, I said. She looked confused, like she'd been expecting a different answer. I set Tilly down gently, but kept her close. Then I spoke to Syria, keeping my voice controlled and practical. Killing you creates a power vacuum. A vacuum causes chaos, reprisals, and more suffering. I also don't want the throne. I'm going to leave this city and return to Rabbitkin lands, and I intend to disappear. Syria stared at me, still trying to understand. You're going to rule, I continued, and you're going to rule well. Fix what Edrin broke and protect the demi-humans. Make this kingdom stable again and prosperous.
I don't know if I can,
she said, her voice breaking. You can, I said firmly. I heard you arguing with him, and I know that you have a kind and compassionate soul. Your kingdom needs you, Syria. She looked down at Edrin's body, fresh tears falling.
You mentioned someone sent you,
she said suddenly, remembering.
You said this situation had to end. Who sent you?
I met her eyes, the same goddess who made Edrin a hero in the first place. The words hit her like a physical blow. She took a step back, her hand going to her mouth.
The goddess herself,
she whispered.
She passed judgment on him.
Yes, she did. I know it won't mean much, but I'm sorry it had to come to this. I took Tilly's hand. We're leaving now. Are you okay to walk?
Yes, I'll be okay,
she replied. We walked towards the door. At the threshold, I stopped and looked back at Syria one last time. Rule with righteousness, I said, my voice calm but carrying steel underneath. Do not become him, because I don't want to come back. She nodded, understanding the weight of what I was saying. Tilly and I walked out into the corridor. Behind us, I heard Syria collapse beside Edrin's body. Her quiet sobs followed us down the hallway, the sound of a woman mourning someone she'd loved, even if he'd become a monster. We kept walking. We slipped back through the castle the same way we'd come in, avoiding the patrols and staying in the quieter corridors. The guard we'd passed earlier was still unconscious where we'd left him. At the second-floor window, I lifted Tilly into my arms and cast the levitation spell. We floated down together, silent and swift, landing softly on the ground below. Then we disappeared into the city's shadows and made our way back toward the ridge. The streets were quiet at this hour. We moved quickly but calmly, two cloaked figures heading out through the gates. The guards barely glanced at us. When we reached the ridge where we'd cached our supplies, I pulled everything out from under the rock overhang. Tilly looked down at her blood-stained shirt and made a disgusted sound.
I need to change.
She pulled off her shirt right there in front of me. I immediately turned around, surprised. She wasn't shy about it at all.
You don't have to look away,
She said, sounding amused.
We're together, aren't we?
Even so, I said, keeping my eyes on the horizon. I heard her laugh softly as she changed into a clean shirt from her pack.
You can look now.
I turned back around. She was grinning at me like she'd just won some kind of game. We shouldered our packs and headed into the forest, moving fast and quiet. For the first hour, we barely spoke. The stealth mindset was still active, and I wanted to put real distance between us and the capital before we relaxed. After 2 hours of steady travel, I finally slowed our pace. We should be far enough now, I said. Tilly let out a long breath.
Good, my legs are tired.
We walked for a while, then she spoke up.
Do you really want to live with Rabbitkin?
She asked.
You're not just saying that?
I really do, I said. Humans are difficult. Rabbitkin have been the least troublesome people I've known, and I find I quite enjoy their company. She was quiet for a moment, then took my hand.
It's getting dark. I'm afraid of tripping.
I glanced at her. Bunnykin could see better in low light than humans could. She didn't really need my help, but I held her hand anyway. I cast a small light spell, just enough to see the path ahead without announcing our presence like a beacon. We talked as we walked, about the future, about rebuilding Rabbitkin society, about small things that didn't matter but felt good to share. The conversation flowed easily, like it always did with her. After a few hours of walking, we found a cave tucked into the side of a mountain. It was well hidden among the trees, deep enough to shelter us, but not so deep that we'd be trapped. We'll rest here, I said. I set protection charms around the entrance, runes that would alert me if anyone approached. Then I cast an illusion over the cave mouth, so it appeared as solid rock from the outside. Inside, I conjured a soft magical light so we could see without needing a fire. Tilly set down her pack with a relieved sigh.
Finally, I thought we'd walk all night.
We needed the distance, I said, rolling out our bedrolls.
I know, I'm not complaining.
She stretched, then looked at me.
Tomorrow we head for Rabbitkin territory?
Tomorrow we travel hard, I agreed. A few more days and maybe we can catch up to the caravan. I lay down on my bedroll and stared at the cave ceiling, letting the adrenaline finally drain out of my system. Tilly settled onto her own bedroll beside me. Then, without warning, she moved over and straddled onto me. I froze. Tilly. She pulled her shirt off over her head and tossed it to the side.
You said we'd get married after we killed the hero,
She said, looking down at me with complete seriousness.
I'm tired of waiting.
We've known each other a short time, I said carefully. Are you sure you want to go this far? This fast? She pulled back slightly, crossing her arms to cover herself and suddenly looking vulnerable.
You don't like me?
That's not what I said.
Then what are you saying?
I met her eyes. I love you, Tilly. You're the best thing that's ever happened to me. Her expression shifted from uncertainty to happiness. She braced her arms to either side of my head and leaned down close till our chests touched, and her face was inches from mine.
Do you choose me?
She asked softly. I reached up and kissed her. Yes, I choose you with my whole heart, I said, and was surprised by how much I meant it. She smiled and kissed me back. I reached up and pulled her close to me with my hands running down her back. Her kisses were electric, and my mind went blank as her body folded into mine. The light in the cave dimmed to almost nothing. I woke to morning light filtering through the illusion at the cave entrance. Tilly was curled against me in the same bedroll, warm and comfortable. She stirred when I moved, then kissed my cheek.
Good morning, husband,
she said sleepily. I blinked. Husband? She laughed.
Are you really going to pretend you don't know how this works?
I'm not pretending.
We chose each other. And after everything we did last night, I'd say we're definitely married.
She grinned at me playfully.
Unless you want me to organize a big human ceremony, I could wear a fancy white dress, we could invite everyone, and make a whole production of it.
I stared at her. Wait, you're serious? That's actually how Rabbitkin marriage works? Her grin faded slightly.
You really didn't know? I thought you were just teasing me.
I didn't grow up with Rabbitkin culture, I said carefully.
Oh.
She processed that for a moment, then brightened again.
Well, now you know. You're stuck with me, honey bunny.
I lay back down, processing this. Then I laughed quietly, smiling. I have no regrets, my beautiful wife. She beamed and curled back against me.
I like how that sounds.
We lay there for a moment, as she ran her fingers along my chest. Then Tilly spoke up again.
So how many kids do you want?
I'm sorry, what?
Kids. I'm thinking 12 is a good starting number.
I sat up so fast she nearly fell off the bedroll. 12? She looked confused at my expression.
What? Is 12 not enough? If it's with you, I don't mind having more.
12 children is not normal.
It is for us.
She was grinning now, clearly enjoying how flustered I was.
Don't worry, we'll figure it out as we go.
I tried to regain my composure, and failed. She just kept smiling at me like she'd won some great victory. After a slow morning together, we reluctantly packed up our things and prepared to leave. As I rolled up the bedrolls and dispelled the protective charms, I found myself thinking about how far I'd come. I used to sit on a throne, waiting to die, waiting for the next hero to come kill me. I'd once looked at a young hero and wondered what it would be like to have a son that age, to have family, to have something beyond endless war. Now, for the first time in a long time, the idea of family didn't feel like a distant fantasy. It felt possible. Having a family with a girl I loved filled me with uncertainty and excitement. I finally had something I thought could never be mine. Tilly took my hand as we stepped out of the cave. The illusion faded behind us, leaving the entrance exposed again for some other traveler who might need shelter.
Are you ready?
She asked. Ready, I said. We disappeared into the trees together, heading north toward Rabbitkin territory, toward a homeland, toward a future, and toward a new beginning. Just two bunnykin walking into the forest, leaving everything else behind.